Today, we have someone who's going to speak who is a part of my Right Day, and I met him at C3 conference. It wasn't like someone said, "Oh, Ed, I want you to meet so-and-so," or "Oh, Brad, I want you to meet so-and-so." We were at the lounge, and we don't have happy hour at the lounge. We have encouragement hour, amen? Encouragement hour. We have Joel Osteen on a loop just encouraging us as we're sipping espresso and punch and cookies. But anyway, I met him, Brad White, there, who pastors the great Life Point Church in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Wow. He's the lead pastor. He's not a senior pastor. He's a lead pastor. I like that. He's married to lovely Stephanie White. And their children, Landon, and they have twin towers too, Caroline and Catherine. Are your kids here? Come on, pastor's kids, come up here. Come up here. Because pastor's kids are the heroes. Mom and dad were like zeros, right? Let's give it up for the pastor's kids. Come on up. You know, I would not embarrass anybody. I just want to show you. Isn't this awesome? Man, you guys, what a beautiful family. Isn't that great? The next generation. Because your dad is also a pastor's kid. And you went to PK Vacay, so just kind of give us like some free like advertisements, because these parents here need to get off their blessed assurances and have their kids at the greatest camp ever. It's really a retreat center, PK Vacay. We do everything there. It's for pastors' kids. Tell us your name.
I'm Landon, and PK Vacay is awesome. If you're a PK in here, beg your parents. You have to go. You're gonna make connections, and you're gonna love it.
And Landon, you love preachers. I know you love your dad, but don't you love preachers?
Amen.
Amen. See, right there. And I think it's so great, Landon. I heard that you were listening to Darius speak the other day, and you asked your dad. I love the vulnerability. Dad, what'd you say?
I don't remember.
Well, I think your dad told me, why don't you preach more like Darius?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good answer. Maybe he was just kind of stretching the truth. Maybe sometimes preachers will do that. But the great thing is we've got to be who we are. All right? Landon, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Are you single?
Yes.
Awesome. Now look at these beautiful twins. Do they have the best hair? Man, you guys have beautiful hair. Tell me your name.
Catherine.
Catherine, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How old are you now, Catherine?
13.
Wow, what a great age. Do you know my favorite age to work with? Favorite age, no doubt about it. Junior high students. I love medical students. I'm not saying middle school, and they're middle cool too. I'm not saying, I love high school. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I love junior high. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about C3?
That I get to reconnect with people from PK Vacay.
Isn't that great? Just think, the best friends, I guarantee it, for your life. Because if I want to predict your future, I just meet your friends. And I know what kind of person you are without even meeting you, just by your friends. So you're telling me your friends are at PK Vacay?
Yes, they are, because I get to connect with people who know what I'm going through, and I don't feel alone.
Isn't that good? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, because they know what the church looks behind the scenes.
Very well said. Okay. Tell me your name.
Caroline.
Caroline, I love that name, Caroline. How old are you, Caroline?
13.
I figured that out because you're twins. I figured that out. Is that kind of funny?
Yeah.
Thank you. How do you like being on stage? I mean, as preachers' kids, we sometimes have to go on stage, and sometimes people embarrass us, but I love how preachers' kids, see, we're so well adjusted, we just roll with it, don't we?
Yeah.
What's your most favorite thing about being a preacher's kid?
Just being ahead of everybody.
Like, you mean first in line? Special treatment? That's the truth, isn't it? I mean, you can get as many soft drinks as you want. You raid the green room. It's amazing.
Pretty much.
Well, We're so happy to have you guys here. Thank you for missing school. You guys have a great family. Let's give it up for the superstars of the White family. Now, Brad is a right thing. His father tragically passed away just several weeks ago. His father was a one-of-a-kind man, Dr. Richard White, and several of us had the opportunity to go to his funeral, and we're going to honor him through C3 Global and through some other ways that you'll hear about more and more. But Brad did a message at that funeral, his father's funeral, about some things his father taught him, some sayings his father always said that just made a huge indelible impression in his mind. So I said, Brad, you've got to share that at the Creative Church Conference. So let's get on our feet and welcome the Right Day lead pastor, Brad White.
Love you, man. Thank you. Love you. What's up, C3 Global? C3, how are you? You can be seated. Thank you so much, man. I'm so glad to be here. Words can't do justice how much I love Ed and Lisa Young. They are my pastors. They're me and my wife, our family, our pastors. I love you. Thank you for allowing me to be here, be a part of this. Yeah, 5 weeks ago today, my dad, totally unexpected, not sick, was out running the night before, went to bed on Tuesday night, and never woke up. Went to heaven. And at the funeral, to show you the power of C3 Global, this, as Dr. Claude says, this is C3 Global. Okay, all right. So, all right, this is C3 Global. Ed and Lisa Young, Mac Richard, David Hughes, John Cross, Tim and Stephanie Payne, out of their own pocket, paid to travel to Baton Rouge, to be there with me and my family on the worst day of our lives. And I'll never be able to thank you enough for that. That is C3. That's C3. You know, as leaders, we come to a conference like this to learn how to look ahead. And we're focused on what lies ahead and what tomorrow is and vision and, you know, investigation and all of that. And that is so important. And I'm telling you, Pastor Ed cleaned my clock this morning in that first session. I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, I needed it. But as leaders, we have to, at the same time, balance with what we're looking ahead for to what we're leaving behind. Because what we leave behind is what they will use to look ahead. So here's my question. What are you leaving behind? Psalm 110, verse 7. My dad's most requested message. My dad traveled a lot preaching. His most requested message was called A Brook in the Way. It actually became the story of his life. Here it is, Psalm 110, verse 7. But he himself, talking about Jesus, this is a messianic psalm talking about the life of Jesus, the suffering of Jesus, the ministry of Jesus on this earth. But he himself will be refreshed from brooks along the way. He will be victorious. In another version it says, he lifted his head and was victorious. When you're in battle, it's hot. In that part of the world, it's a desert. Water is scarce. But when you come across a brook, a little trickle of water, and you're able to get something to drink, it gives you what you need to go on. And that was what my dad did. My dad's legacy is he loved people. And my dad, with whether children, businessmen, or preachers, he tried to be the cup of cold water, to be a brook in the way. And I know if he was standing here today, he would say this. There are pastors and pastors' wives and staff members in this room that you're very thirsty. Truth is, you're hanging by a thread. And you came here, some of you on the last dollar you have, and you need something. You're in the battle for your life and ministry. You're in the battle for your family. And you need something today. I want to share with you a few things that my dad taught me that 5 weeks ago today, he left behind for me and for my family, and I believe for you. Number one, love Jesus more than you love yourself. Love Jesus more than you love yourself. My dad was unique. He was not in a mold. My dad was very creative. He had really bad ADD. He beat to his own drum beat. My dad had an amazing walk with God. Now, my dad was not one of these guys that gets up at 5 a.m., went into his study, writing poetry, doing all that kind of stuff. My dad was the kind of guy, he said this all the time, if God wanted me to see the sunrise, he'd put it later in the day. That's what my dad always said, all right? Anybody agree with that? Amen. All right. So, he was just that kind of guy. But my dad walked with God. My dad had an intimate relationship with Jesus. And he taught me, son, what matters more than anything else? It's not anything else beyond this. Love Jesus more than you love yourself. Number two, give your family your best. Don't give them your leftovers, give them your best. New Year's Eve, 1962, my dad was 16 years of age, the age of my son, who just recently threw me under the bus up here with Pastor Ed, right here, Landon. He was the same age as Landon when his dad, New Year's Eve, 1962, his dad had a massive heart attack in the bedroom. My dad went in there and he said, as a 16-year-old boy, I looked at my dad and he said, I'm 16. This is my dad who has died, and I don't even know this man. And he said, I've made a vow with God, if he ever gave me a kid, son or daughter, they would know me. And my dad lived that. I never questioned, ever in my life, if the church came before me or my brother or my mom or my wife or my kids. My dad put us first. This is before the days of cell phones and all that. My dad would come home in the afternoon in a three-piece suit, and he would take the jacket off and unbutton the suit and loosen the tie, but you had the tie bar on there, the little diamond clip. It kept it on there, and he would loosen it, and he would get out there, and he would throw the football with me in the front yard. My dad taught me to throw the football. Nobody else did. My dad taught me to throw a baseball. My dad taught me how to hunt. My dad taught me how to fish. My dad did that. While pastoring a church and having a school, which is like having a dairy farm. It's 24 hours a day. He was with us. This is a funny story. My dad used to do this all the time. I went to a Christian school there as part of the church my dad pastored, and oftentimes they would buzz me on the intercom system in the classroom. Mrs. DeSalvo, yes. Is Bradley White in your room? Yes, he is. Can you tell him that his dad wants to see him as soon as school is over? The message is, do not waste any time. Do not pass go. Do not stop at any red lights. You come directly to my office. And my buddies would go, ooh. But see, I knew what was going on. They thought I was in trouble. But I'd get to my dad's office, I'd get there, and there's all these people out there. Because what you have when you have a school is you've got screaming mad parents every day. Anybody thinking about starting a school, talk to me. I can give you a blessing that'll keep on giving, okay? I'm telling you. They just have these screaming parents out there. They're mad. And there's people from the church out there. And in that era, my dad was like the one guy doing all the meetings. And they'd be lined up out there ready to meet with my dad and all that kind of stuff. And so my dad's secretary would be there, Brendan. I'd say, listen, Dad wants to see me. Well, he's in there trying to get some work done right now before these appointments. I said, he wants to see me. So she'd buzz me in, and I would go in, and Dad'd go, hey, buddy, how are you? I'd be good. He goes, close that door. He'd say, you want to get out of here? And I say, yeah, let's go. He said, now listen, I'm going to unlock this window behind me. And I'm going to unlock it. There's an alleyway. You know where I'm parked out here. Here's my keys. You crawl out that window. You go crank my car. Do not talk to any friends. Do not roll down the window. Do not have any conversations. You go and you wait in that car for me. And I'll be right there. I said, but Dad, there's people waiting to meet with you. Oh, they'll be mad 2 hours from now. Don't worry about that. I will be back. So, man, I'd crawl out that window and I'd go back. I'd go to this big old, Mercury Grand Marquis, and I'd get in there with the big velour seats, and I'd crank that thing up and I'd sit there and turn the air conditioning on, and all of a sudden I'd look and there'd be my dad in that three-piece suit climbing out that window. And he'd come down that alleyway. We'd get in the car. He'd have a box of Twinkies in the car. And he'd say, I just knew, listen, we're going to go get something to eat, but why not eat a box of Twinkies on the way? And we'd go down to a place called Frost Top Root Beer, and we'd get those homemade onion rings and root beer right out of a big barrel and eat hamburgers. And then he would say, no, listen, your mom's cooking tonight. Now, this is a buddy thing between you and me. When you go home, you got to act hungry. You better eat whatever she cooks like it's the only meal you've had today, or I'm a dead man. And we'd get back to the church, and he would say, okay, now listen, go unlock my window and climb in. I'm coming. So he'd wait out there. I'd go unlock the window, climb in, and then all of a sudden I'd see him coming out, and he'd climb in the window, and he'd go back to work. That's my dad. I mean, just always like that. Give your family your very best. Don't give your wife your leftovers. Don't give your kids your leftovers. Look at me. It brings me to the next thing, okay? Here's why you want to do that. Third thing my dad taught me, get the big picture. Okay, here's what Dad would say. Give your family the best, get the big picture. Here's the deal. That church doesn't love you. Now, they're going to tell you they love you. They don't love you. They like you and they may love you, but it only lasts as long as they need you. That's right. When they don't need you anymore, they don't care. Now listen to me. He said, listen. He said, I'd be all stressed out about pastoring, and these people are leaving. I got the wrong they. And I mean, it's all of this, and I'm stressing out, and I'm going to eat at buffets like I'm going to the electric chair. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating like crazy. And my dad would say, son, why are you so stressed out? Oh, they're going to leave. I don't know how we're going to pay the bills, and they're big givers, and da-da-da. And he'd say, son, get the big picture here. None of this stuff matters. It doesn't matter. One day you'll leave here. Other guy will pastor it. They'll criticize everything you've done. Get the big picture. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. He said, Brad, look at me. Everybody leaves the church. He said, even you will leave one day. He said, one day your kids will leave. One day you will leave. He said, this new family comes in and they say, man, we've been looking for a church like this. And we've been looking all over. We just hadn't found that church home. So glad to meet you. It's your message. We've been so hungry for the word. And they're telling you that. And they love you, and their kids love it, and it's just so great. And they're just as awesome. And we're going to get in, and we're in 100%, and we're lifers here, like Lisa said. We're lifers here. And we're with you. My dad said, hug them, shake his hand, give her a hug, kiss their little baby, go back to your office and say, they're going to leave too. Get the big picture. All right, number 4, don't dig up and doubt what you plant in faith. Don't go back and try to recreate the scenario when God spoke to you. Isn't that true, man? You start this ministry, you build this building, it gets tight, you're trying to make the payment, you're thinking, did I really hear God in this, or was that caffeine? Did I hear God? Was that God that spoke to me? Dad said, he'd tell me all the time, because I would go back and redig it. And Dad would say, hey, buddy, look at me. You're going to drive yourself crazy. You can never recreate all the little nuances of what happened when God spoke to your heart. And that's what Satan wants you to do, is to go back and dig up and doubt what you plant in faith. Maybe that's you today. And you got the shovel out, and it's just dirt going everywhere. Don't dig up and doubt what you plant in faith. Number 5, walk slowly through the crowd. Always walk slowly through the crowd. I was working for my dad. I was 21, full of testosterone. I mean, I wasn't married. I had all the answers, no kids. I could give anybody advice. I had a lot of responsibility. I even had a secretary. I thought I was bad to the bone. And I was coming from the school building down this long hallway towards the church office. And I mean, I'm intense. I got my day timer. Remember the old day timers? I got it with a list of people that I'm about to ring out, and I'm going to deal with some stuff. I'm 21. I think I got it. I'm moving down the hallway, walking really fast. My forehead's all scrunched up, and I'm intense, and I'm walking, and my dad's talking to some people from the church in the hallway, and I didn't say a word. I just went and cut that corner. My dad said, "Excuse me, just 1 minute." He walked down there, put his arm around me, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm about to go in there, and I'm going to meet with Henry, and I'm going to meet with Mike. Maybe this, and I found and I'm going to take care of it today." And my dad said, "You like your job?" I said, "Yeah." You like doing this?" I said, he goes, "You just made a critical mistake." I said, "What'd I do?" He said, "You just blew past people that God's put us here to pastor and to love. Always walk slowly through the crowd. Don't be too busy to look somebody in the eye. We're in this for people. People matter more than plans. People matter more than desk. People matter more. Walk slowly through the crowd. Walk slowly through the crowd." Dad would tell me, "Listen, when you stop smelling like sheep, you can't be a good shepherd. You got to smell like sheep, man. Don't hide out in that office. Get with the people." Next one. Never criticize another preacher of the gospel. Never criticize another preacher of the gospel. This was one of my dad's most amazing traits. My dad, as a young pastor, was at a table with all the movers and shakers in the denominational world, the Baptist world, like Pastor Ed mentioned, and Mac and others, and he's with all these movers and shakers. And the topic that came up was Jerry Falwell. And they were going to barbecue Jerry Falwell at that table. And my dad, and there's some of his heroes were at the table. And my dad stood up and he said, "Guys, I'm going to pay for everybody's meal. But I love Jerry Falwell. And I'm not going to have any part of this. So I've already paid for your meal. I'm going to my car and I'm leaving." Never, ever, ever criticize another preacher of the gospel. Ever. Number 6, keep short accounts with people and your past. You got to forgive it and let it go. Keep short accounts with people. Forgive them, man. Do something good for them. Don't hold on to it. Let it go. And keep short accounts with your past. Quit trying to beat yourself up over mistakes that you have made as a leader. Forgive yourself and go on. Next. Personal soul winning keeps you focused. My dad was a real deal, personal soul winner. Now, some of you don't know what I mean. That's like Dad would have meetings with people and sit across the table at Starbucks or at a restaurant. And my dad would give them the gospel. He would actually lead them in the sinner's prayer. That gets a lot of heat these days from some people attacking those of us who lead people in the sinner's prayer. But my dad would do that. My mom got a message a couple of weeks ago from a young lady. She said, "Mrs. White, you don't know me." She said, "But my grandfather, Dorsey Sandifer, went to your church." And he's one of the founding guys. He was a deacon, a great man. She goes, "That was my grandfather." She said, "The Saturday before your husband went to heaven, I'm at CC's Coffee House. That's like a Starbucks. And she said, I'm watching this man pray with another man. And that man is praying and he's inviting Jesus into his heart. I'm Catholic. I don't know what that is. But I go home and I told my dad, I said, Dad, I saw this man praying with another man. And this man was inviting Jesus into his heart. My dad said, that's awesome. Do you know who it was? No. She said a few days later when the obituary came out in the paper and I saw Pastor White's picture, I drove to my dad's house and I said, Dad, that's the man. That's the man that was praying with that man. And he was asking Jesus into his heart. He goes, baby, that was my pastor during my childhood. That's Richard White. The Saturday before he died, he was leading people to Christ. When I was a kid, my dad took me with him. I'd go with him and say, listen, if they got kids, you go distract the kids so I can talk to the mom and dad. And I would go. And I grew up riding with my dad. And I'd go in and I'd watch my dad sit down. And we went to all different kind of homes. I've been in big palatial homes. And he sat there and gave the gospel to a successful man and woman. And I've seen him lead them to Christ. I've gone inside a trailer in a trailer park. It smelled like sewage. You're scared to sit down. I've seen my dad sit there across from a poverty-stricken man and woman and tell them about Jesus. I've seen it, man. At my dad's funeral, there were preachers there, pastors there, that I remember when my dad led them to Christ. My dad taught me, he said, son, listen, all the planets align themselves when you're winning people to Christ. That keeps you in it. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Don't get caught up in all the arguments. Don't get caught up in the election and the Calvinism and the free will. Don't get in all that. You're wasting your time, man. Get out of all that. Sit across from somebody. Tell them about Jesus. Lead them to Christ. Personally. Next one. God always pays the bills for soul winning churches. Always. Now look at me. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to reach souls. And in a crowd this side full of preachers in churches, there's somebody that's having trouble paying the bills. So my dad taught me. God always, right on time, pays the bills for soul winning churches. We were meeting in the school. My wife was pregnant with our girls. We were broke. We had about 25 adults meeting in the elementary school. The rent was $3,000 a month. We couldn't pay it. We were behind on the rent. Couldn't make it happen. I hadn't been paid. I'm behind on my mortgage. You get the picture. It was folding. Steph and I were having marriage trouble. We really were. And it was brutal. And I thought my marriage wasn't going to make it. I thought for sure the church wasn't going to make it. I couldn't see how we could make it. My dad kind of sensed this. And he flew down on his own dollar. He flew down. I picked him up at the airport. I'll never forget it. He had a pair of white shorts on, tennis shoes, and a red pullover. We got in my Jeep. He leaned that seat back and put his feet up on the dash. And he's just talking with me real relaxed. You know, Dad was never stressed out. And I said, Dad, I got to talk to you. I said, you got to help me get a young pastor down here. He ain't going to make it. Steph and I are not going to make it. This baby church is not going to make it. He said, oh, you're going to make it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Our offerings are $400 a week on a good week when it's not raining. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? Can I get a big hearty amen? You know what I'm talking about? All right. So I said, Dad, well, our rent's $3,000 a month. That's before I get paid, anybody gets paid. He said, I know. He said, let me tell you something. Keep getting out of bed. Love those people. Win souls. Live above it. Take care of your wife. Work on these issues. I'm going to help you. and go to bed every night knowing that God always pays the bills for soul winning churches. You know, it wasn't but a few days later, he's in this church right now. Danny Stahl. Raise your hand, Danny Stahl, right over here in the red sweater, C3 Global right here. He's a pastor in Tampa. He called me. He said, can I help you? I said, man, can you pay rent on this school? He said, I'll pay for 2 months rent on the school. Johnny Hunt called me. I don't know Johnny Hunt, hardly at all. I hadn't talked to him 10 minutes in my life. He called me. He says, is this Brad White? I said, it is. He said, God put you on my heart this morning. He said, do you need something financially? I said, yes, yes, yes. He paid another month. And what Dad said was true. I didn't know how God was going to do it. But God always pays the bills for soul winning churches. Now listen, now look at me. Look at me. Here's what I'm telling you. Go to Uncle Julio's this afternoon. Enjoy yourself. Go to Heart 8. Enjoy yourself. Don't sweat all that other stuff. Don't sweat the bills. Don't sweat the mortgage. You focus on getting ready for the weekend and telling people about Jesus, because God always pays the bills for soul winning churches. Last one, and I'm through. He told me this one not long before he died. Preach to the brokenhearted, and you'll always have a crowd to preach to. He said, now, buddy, listen to me. I know you learn from all these different guys and all that out there. He said, I'm with you on it. That's awesome. He said, but when you get up to speak, the tone of your message, the wording in your points, the spirit of your voice, preach to broken-hearted people. And if you'll preach to broken-hearted people, you'll always have a crowd to preach to. You know, my dad, his ministry was hallmarked by broken-hearted people of all different socioeconomic levels. My dad loved them and did everything he could to reach them. On Thursday, on the day my dad died, we were in there saying goodbye to my dad. It's the hardest day of my life. I never knew how bad people hurt. Never knew how bad people hurt. I was saying goodbye to my dad. My brother was, my mom was. And I was wrecked emotionally. And I went out to the waiting room, and the waiting room was full of people from their church. And I'm standing over there and, you know, just kind of in this daze. Those of you that have been through it know what I'm talking about. You're in a daze. And this woman walks up to me. She said, are you Brad? I said, I am. She goes, my name is Lisa May Phelps. She said, you don't know me, but your daddy changed my life. I said, do you go to his church right now? She said, no. When I was a little girl, we lived in the projects on the other side of Florida Boulevard. And in this apartment complex, government housing. And we were out there playing. And a woman got out of her car, and she had a bucket of bubble gum. We ran to where she was. She goes, listen, I want to go talk to your parents. And she gave us all these girls out here playing, gave us a piece of bubble gum. And she said, I want to talk to your parents. I want to invite you. We're going to bring a school bus by here tomorrow morning. I want your mom or your mom and dad's permission for you to ride that bus. We're going to sing songs, take you to church, tell you about Jesus. Have a blast. She goes, I want to go. Went to her mom. Mom said, sure, you can go. And she said, I got on that bus, and they drove me to Calvary Heights Baptist Church, the church your dad pastored. For the first time in my life, somebody told me about Jesus and that he loved me. I came from a broken home. It was a mess. She goes, I gave my heart to Jesus there. She said, every week I rode that bus all through my teenage years until I became an adult. She said, today, I serve on staff, and she mentioned the church. It's a massive church in Baton Rouge. She said, I'm on staff at this church. And I heard through the grapevine that your dad was dead. And I wanted to come and tell you that your daddy made an effort to cross to the other side of town, to where we lived in the projects. And my life was forever changed. So if few days pass, we have the funeral. After the funeral, I'm standing in front of the church. We're waiting to get in the car to go to the graveside. Lisa comes out there. She goes, I want to give you something. She said, she reached in her pocket. She pulled out a piece of bubble gum. She gave it to me. She said, I asked your mama for permission. I put a piece just like this in your daddy's coat pocket in the casket. She says, I want you to take this bubble gum and be reminded that your daddy loved people like me. And I wouldn't be here today without him. So I was thinking, after Pastor Ed asked me to come and speak here, I thought, bubble gum. That's what C3 is all about. It's all about connecting with the lost right where they are so that you can share Jesus with them. So I want the host to come forward. I got a gift for you. They're going to give everybody here a piece of bubble gum. All right? Just take it with you. This is what it's all about. And when you look at it, ask yourself this question. What am I leaving behind? Love you guys. God bless you.
Brad, thank you. What a powerful word. Brad White, Life Point Church. You know, Brad has resources out back. Please be seated. But, you know, something Brad did for our church that is sort of funny, but it's so powerful. Brad pastors Life Point Church in Tampa, dynamic church, dynamic ministry. I had this idea this summer, which you never do. This summer in June, we don't have stellar crowds in June. Maybe you do, we don't. I thought, I'm going to invite Brad in, and Brad does this teaching about finances called Tipping Point. And I said, Brad, come in and just do a series. Well, Brad comes in, he does this series called Tipping Point, and our finances from June until now, I think it's been one of the best runs, top 2 or 3 runs we've ever had in the history of our church. It started in June. And here's what's so funny. Because we're a multi-site church, we would show video and it would just say Brad White Tipping Point. People to this day think Brad is one of our teaching pastors at Fellowship. And I just agree with them and say, yes, he is. He's unbelievable. So we have that teaching, and you need to have Brad and his stuff in your church. It's absolutely amazing. For us, it's been huge. But Brad, thank you for that powerful message.